Welcome to this explainer. Okay, let's jump right into it. Today, we're unpacking a massive modern career dilemma, and we're using insights sourced directly from real professionals who are actively living this out in the trenches. It's the ultimate tug of war. Do you stay in the safe, structured public sector, or do you chase the lucrative, fast-paced private sector? Look, if you're early in your career or even just thinking about a major pivot, the decisions you make right now can literally alter the trajectory of your entire financial and professional life. So we're going to break down the pros, the cons, the hidden trade-offs, and, my favorite part, a highly strategic, best-of-both-worlds roadmap that veterans from both sides absolutely swear by. To really ground our analysis, let's put ourselves in the shoes of a real 25-year-old federal employee. This person is 3 years into their career in D.C., and they voiced a struggle that resonates with so many young professionals out there. They put it perfectly, saying, "Everyone over 50 tells me to stay in government for the pension, but that's still at least 40 years away," right? It's just a classic clash of perspectives. You got the older generation fiercely valuing long-term security, while this younger professional feels completely isolated among coworkers who are much older, and they're just actively craving a faster pace and more immediate growth.
And honestly, that brilliantly illustrates the core tension we're looking at today. On one side, we have the typical federal environment. Younger workers often describe it as a bit, well, chill or slow-paced. Our protagonist actually wishes they could work a little harder. They want to be challenged. But their siblings and friends working out in the private sector, they completely disagree with that sentiment. They're practically begging them not to wish for more work, especially given the grueling realities of corporate life.
I mean, just look at that number, 70 plus. That represents the absolutely grueling weekly hours often required in other fast-paced private industries. It's a really stark contrast to the standard federal work-life balance. Now, when you're 25, 70 hours might sound like a badge of honor, just the price of ambition. But as veterans in our source material are quick to point out, that kind of workload leads to burnout fast, especially when you start factoring in major life events, starting a family, or health changes later down the line. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the quarter-life career crisis. It's a remarkably common feeling. You do everything right, you land a stable job right out of college, but soon, you just feel the itch of stagnation. You're comfortable, sure, but you start wondering, am I leaving money and skill development on the table by playing it too safe too early? And a huge part of this crisis isn't even the work itself, it's the environment. Imagine being the youngest in your office by over 10 years. We absolutely have to acknowledge the very real social isolation of being a young professional in a place where your colleagues are old enough to be your parents. When you see your peers in the private sector becoming best friends with their coworkers and building these vibrant young networks, it's entirely natural to feel like you're missing out on a crucial developmental phase of your 20s.
Moving on to Section 2, the private sector gamble.
Okay, so the allure of the private sector is undoubtedly strong. The pay is usually way higher, promotions can happen much faster, and that rapid skill acquisition, it makes you incredibly marketable. But wow, there are hidden traps. One veteran worker shared this super sobering reality. "I was laid off twice since 2020 in private. It was the worst time of my life. I had just bought a house." This advice, coming from someone who spent 10 years in the private sector, highlights the immense anxiety and volatility waiting on the other side. That high salary sounds amazing on paper, but it can literally vanish overnight. Out there, hiring can dry up and layoffs are rampant, turning that fast-paced dream into a financial nightmare in a matter of days. So, the crucial point here is weighing these two completely different realities. While the private sector offers ambition, speed, and cutting-edge skill development, it carries the baggage of rampant layoffs, significantly higher stress, and a culture where directors might think they literally own your time. Contrast that with government stability. The culture is generally a true 9 to 5, your weekends are actually yours, and the job security is incredibly robust. It's a literal trade-off. Are you trying to maximize your income or maximize your peace of mind? Which brings us to Section 3, the case for staying federal. So with the slower pace and the potential social isolation, why do older generations insist on staying? What do they know that our 25-year-old hasn't experienced yet? Well, it all comes down to the golden handcuffs. These are exceptional financial benefits, like pensions and permanent healthcare, that heavily incentivize you to stick around long-term. In the federal government, these financial anchors become incredibly heavy and incredibly valuable as you age. Look, when you're 25, permanent healthcare doesn't mean much. But at 50, when you're dealing with the realities of health issues, families, and aging, veterans argue that securing these benefits is worth far more than a temporary private sector pay bump. Let's break down the tangible perks on the federal ledger. First, you get strict 40-hour work weeks. That gives you a life you can actually enjoy outside of the office.
You get a pension based on your high 3, meaning your 3 highest earning years. You get permanent healthcare into retirement. And hey, if you get bored, you have the ability to transfer internally to different agencies all across the country. Now, obviously, you have to weigh these massive pros against neutral career risks, like the potential for future administrative changes or cuts to those very benefits down the line. It's not a perfectly guaranteed future, but man, it remains one of the most robust safety nets available anywhere.
Now for the fun part. Section 4, Strategic Career Hopping. Here's the secret. You don't actually have to choose one path forever. Based on the insights from our source material, there's a very specific roadmap to kind of hack the system. Let's clear up the jargon and track these critical federal milestones that change your entire trajectory. At 3 years, you secure career tenure and you lock in your 401k agency match. At 5 years, you hit the magic number, pension vesting. This means you are guaranteed some level of pension payout when you reach retirement age, even if you quit tomorrow. And finally, age 57 and up is generally the minimum retirement age. Understanding these milestones is the absolute key to flexibility. And this brings us to the most immediate, unified piece of advice from the veterans. Don't leave before your 3-year anniversary. Seriously, if you leave at year 2, you lose your competitive status to easily return later, and you could lose unvested matched funds. Hitting that 3-year mark is the ultimate safety net. It ensures that if your private sector gamble fails, the door back to federal service remains wide open.
So, here is the ultimate best of both worlds strategy brilliantly outlined by the community. Step 1, hit your 3-year tenure or ideally your 5-year vesting mark in government. Step 2, jump to the private sector while you're young. Go acquire those cutting-edge skills, endure the 70-hour weeks while you have the energy, and stash away that higher pay. Step 3, return to federal service near age 59. And step 4, this is the genius part. Because your federal pension is based on your highest 3 years of salary, working those final few years at a senior government level updates your pension to current inflation dollars, rather than the entry-level salary you made back in your 20s. It's brilliant. You chase ambition now and secure a lucrative inflation-adjusted pension later.
And finally, Section 5, Defining Your Priorities. Strategic hopping is a great plan, but at the end of the day, making this choice doesn't just come down to math. It comes down to deeply personal values and your own individual risk tolerance. Sometimes the simplest advice really is the best, and I love this quote: stay until the vibes are bad. Honestly, if you like your coworkers, if you don't dread going to work on Monday morning, and if you have a good boss, that stability is worth its weight in gold. Most people spend their lives completely miserable at work. If you have a job that actually affords you the energy to enjoy your life, your family, and your hobbies outside of working hours, do not throw that away lightly, just for a few extra dollars or a fancier title. As we wrap up this explainer, you need to ask yourself one absolutely vital question. Are you running away from your job, or are you running towards your future? Don't make a rash leap just because you're a little bored right now. Be selective. Build your skills, hit your milestones. And if you do jump, ensure it's towards a profound opportunity, not just an escape hatch. Think deeply about what you want your life to look like, not just next year, but 30 years from now. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep strategizing.